Everyone thought I was the boring stepdad who paid bills and kept quiet. At my birthday party, they proved it. Divorce papers, her father's grin, her trainer boyfriend's smirk, her phone recording my humiliation. They wanted me broken. I signed the papers and left. What they didn't know, I've been moving assets, restructuring accounts, building an escape for 18 months. By sunrise, they had nothing. By sunset, I had everything. My name is Daniel Foster. I'm 50 years old, and I spent the last decade building security frameworks for military installations while my wife built an empire of lies on Instagram. She called it being an influencer. I called it performing for applause from people who'd never actually help you move furniture. But I kept quiet, paid the bills, and figured marriage meant supporting your partner's dreams, even when those dreams looked ridiculous from the outside. The night of my 50th birthday, I walked into what I thought was a surprise party. Balloons everywhere, a catered spread that probably cost more than my first car, and about 30 people I barely recognized. Most of them were Jessica's followers, the ones she'd converted into real-life friends, which basically meant they showed up when there was free food and photo opportunities. My stepson Owen was there with his college buddies, all of them looking at their phones. Emma, my stepdaughter, stood in the corner with her arms crossed, the only person in the room who looked uncomfortable. That should have been my first clue. Jessica's father, Richard, stepped forward before I even got my coat off. He was grinning like a man who'd just won a bet, holding a manila envelope in his weathered hands. Behind him, Jessica had her phone up, already recording. The smile on her face was too wide, too bright, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Happy birthday, Daniel," Richard said, his voice carrying across the room. The conversations died down. Everyone turned to watch. He handed me the envelope. I looked at Jessica, confused. She kept filming, that frozen smile never wavering. "Open it," she said, her voice sing-songy, like she was talking to a child. I opened it. Divorce papers. My name, her name, everything already filled out. Her signature was already there, dated 3 days earlier. I looked up at Richard. He was still grinning. "Your replacement's ready," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. He gestured toward the kitchen doorway. That's when Kyle walked out. Jessica's personal trainer. The guy had helped get certified 2 years ago when he couldn't afford the exam fees. He was holding a beer, leaning against the doorframe like he owned the place. He raised the bottle toward me in a mock toast. The room went silent except for the sound of Jessica's phone capturing everything. She was still smiling, still recording, waiting for me to explode, to give her the viral moment she wanted. The humiliated husband, the dramatic meltdown, the content that would get her 1 million views and a dozen sponsorship offers. I pulled a pen from my jacket pocket, the same pen I used to sign off on multi-million-dollar defense contracts. I flipped through the papers, found the signature lines, and signed. No hesitation, no speech, just my name in blue ink. Richard's grin faltered. Jessica lowered her phone slightly, confused. I handed the papers back to Richard, looked at Jessica one last time, and then walked toward the door. Not through the living room where all her friends were gathered, but straight through the hallway, past the kitchen where Kyle stood looking suddenly less confident, and out the back door into the October night. Behind me, I heard Jessica's voice, higher now, uncertain. "Wait, that's it. Daniel, come back. We need to talk about this." I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. Because when someone hands you a grenade and calls a party favor, the smartest thing you can do is let them hold it when it goes off. I didn't go to a hotel. Hotels have paper trails, credit card receipts, locations that can be tracked. Instead, I drove 2 hours north to a hunting cabin that belonged to an old army buddy. He'd given me the key years ago, told me he was there if I ever needed to disappear for a while. At the time, I thought he was being dramatic. Turns out, he knew something I didn't. The cabin was basic. Wood stove, cot, propane lamp. No internet. No cell service unless you climbed the hill behind the property. Perfect. I sat there that first night, wood burning in the stove, and started making calls. Not to Jessica. Not to explain, or argue, or beg. Those chapters were closed the moment I signed those papers. First call was to my bank. The joint accounts we'd maintained for 10 years got frozen within the hour. Not emptied, frozen. I learned a long time ago that the best defense was an offense. It was making your opponent think they still had access to something they didn't. Jessica could see the balances on her app, could see the money sitting there, but the moment she tried to transfer or withdraw, the system would flag it for verification. Verification that required both signatures. Signatures she'd never get. Second call was to Tom Brennan, my attorney. Not the family lawyer Jessica had picked 3 years ago. My attorney. The one I'd kept on retainer through my defense contracting work. The one who specialized in asset protection and federal compliance. Tom had been expecting my call. I'd warned him 6 months ago that things were heading this direction. The papers are signed, I told Tom. Good, Tom said on the other end. His voice was calm, professional. Then we moved to phase 2. I'll file the amendments tomorrow morning. Everything we restructured last year becomes active. Phase 2. That was the part Jessica didn't know about. The part where the house she thought we owned together was actually titled under my consulting LLC. The part where the cars, the investment accounts, the retirement funds, all of it had been quietly, legally restructured over the past 18 months. Every document she'd signed without reading. Every paper she'd waved off because she was too busy curating her aesthetic had been a brick in the foundation of her own irrelevance. By the time the sun came up, my old phone number was disconnected. The email addresses she knew were deactivated. My social media accounts, the ones I barely used anyway, were deleted. I wasn't hiding. I was erasing the version of myself she thought she knew. The third day, I drove into town and bought a burner phone. Just one call to make. I dialed Emma's number. She picked up on the second ring. Daniel. Her voice was small, uncertain. Yeah, kiddo, I said. It's me. Are you okay? Mom's been freaking out. She keeps saying you stole everything. She called the police, but they said. I interrupted gently. Emma, listen to me. I didn't steal anything. I just stopped letting her take what was mine. There's a difference. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, I knew something was wrong. At the party, I tried to tell her not to do it. I know you did, I said, and I appreciate that. But this isn't about you or your brother. This is between me and your mom. Owen's being a jerk about it, Emma said. He keeps saying you abandoned us. I closed my eyes. Owen, 19 years old and still convinced the world owed him something. What do you think, Emma? Another pause. I think she pushed you too far. I think she thought you'd just take it, like you always did. Smart kid. Always have been. Stay out of it, Emma. Don't pick sides. Just take care of yourself. Will I see you again? She asked. Yeah, I said, when the dust settles. I promise. I ended the call and crushed the SIM card under my boot. Then I climbed back into my truck and headed west, toward the next phase of a plan I'd been building for longer than Jessica ever realized. Jessica's Instagram story appeared 3 hours after I left. I watched it from Tom's office while we reviewed legal filings. She sat on our couch, perfectly lit, makeup flawless despite the manufactured tears. I don't usually get this personal, Jessica said, her voice breaking on cue. But I need to be real with you guys. My husband just walked out on our family, signed divorce papers, and left without a word. The comments flooded in. Support, sympathy, outrage on her behalf. None of them asking the right questions. Tom looked at me over his reading glasses. He was 63, built like a retired boxer, gray hair cut military short. He'd handled asset protection for 3-star generals. A lifestyle blogger didn't intimidate him. She's setting the narrative, Tom said. Let her, I replied. Words are cheap. Documents aren't. Tom slid a folder across his desk. Inside was everything. The house deed showing Foster Defense Consulting LLC as owner. Vehicle registrations under the business. Investment accounts restructured through corporate entities Jessica had signed off on without reading. The business loan for a studio, Tom said, tapping a document. $40,000. She co-signed last year. I remembered. Jessica wanted a content creation studio in our garage. Professional lighting, backdrops, the works. I'd suggested a business loan for better rates. She'd sign without reading. Secured against future earnings from her social media accounts. Tom continued. Since you're divorcing and the business was marital property, the debt transfers to her. No guilt. No satisfaction. Just cold logic from a man who'd been planning while she'd been posting. Her father's going to be a problem, I said. Tom smiled without warmth. Richard's credit cards are linked to a vendor account through your consulting network. We closed it this morning. He'll have an interesting conversation with Visa in 48 hours. I raised an eyebrow. I don't remember that. You helped him consolidate debt 3 years ago, Tom said. Made yourself an authorized user for estate planning. When you removed yourself yesterday, his accounts flagged for review. Richard, the man who'd handed me divorce papers with a grin. The man who'd told me I was nothing without his daughter. About to discover what nothing actually looked like. My burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Owen. You need to come back and fix this. You're being selfish. I showed Tom. He shook his head. 19 years old, Tom said. Old enough to know better. I typed back. Your mother made her choice. I made mine. Owen's response. She said you're having a midlife crisis. That you can't handle her success. I deleted the thread. Owen had been 18 when I married Jessica. Already half raised. I tried. Paid for college. Helped with internships. Taught him basic life skills. He tolerated me at best. Emma was different. Emma had been 8. Young enough to need a father. I'd coach her soccer. Help with homework. Been there. Emma saw through her mother's act. Owen lived in it. The wedding. Tom said, pulling another file. Owen's wedding. 3 weeks ago, I'd written a $38,000 check for venue, catering, photographer. Jessica insisted it was our responsibility as parents. Check drawn from the business account, Tom said, coded as a corporate gift. Taxable to Owen as income unless repaid within 90 days. I stared at him, and after 90 days, IRS gets involved. Owen owes taxes on $38,000 he never received in cash. Can you pay that? Tom's expression answered. Owen worked part-time at a sporting goods store, barely passed his classes. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I remembered Owen filming me at the party, posting it to Snapchat with the caption, Stepdad couldn't handle it. Let it ride, I said. Kinda lasted 6 days. Emma told me over the phone, her voice low from a friend's house. The personal trainer who was supposed to be Jessica's upgrade bailed when the electricity got shut off. Mom's saying it's a mistake, Emma said. But I saw the letter. Non-payment. What's Owen saying? I asked. Emma's voice went flat. That you're sabotaging her. Being vindictive. He moved back home to support Mom. I sat in the cabin, watching November snow fall through pines. Quiet. Cold. Honest. Everything my marriage hadn't been. Emma, listen, I said. I'm not sabotaging your mother. I'm just not protecting her from her own choices anymore. I know, Emma said quietly. She never paid attention to anything. Bills, accounts, paperwork. You handled it, and she assumed you always would. 16 years old, and already seeing what her mother couldn't. Where's Kyle? I asked. Left yesterday. Packed his gym bag during one of Mom's Instagram lives. You could see him in the background, walking out while she talked about manifesting abundance. I almost laughed. And Richard? Grandpa's not talking to Mom. His credit cards got canceled. He came over yelling about his credit rating. Mom tried calming him down, but he kept saying she shouldn't have trusted you with money. The irony. Richard handed me divorce papers smiling, now angry that the same planning he'd mocked extended to his finances. Mom's planning to sell your stuff, Emma said, voice shifting. Tools, books, furniture. She says it's community property. It's not. Everything's titled to my business. She doesn't know that. She posted about a garage sale this weekend. I checked Jessica's Instagram. There it was. Photos of my workshop equipment, military memorabilia, my grandfather's woodworking tools. Moving on means letting go. Garage sale Saturday. Everything must go. Her followers ate it up, none knowing she was about to commit theft. I called Tom. She's selling my property. Tom read the post. Bold. Stupid but bold. Can we stop it? We can let her try. Saturday came. Emma texted updates. Jessica set up tables. Price tags on everything. Owen manned the cash box. At 10:15, 2 officers arrived. Professional and polite. They had a cease and desist order plus documentation proving every item was business property belonging to Foster Defense Consulting LLC. Jessica argued. Owen argued. The police only care about documentation. Tom had provided it in triplicate. The garage sale ended. The crowd left. Jessica stood in the driveway, surrounded by property she couldn't sell, filming a tearful story about me using legal technicalities to harass her. Emma sent a photo. Jessica sitting on the garage floor, crying. Owen standing awkwardly nearby. Caption. This is getting sad. It was sad, but not for the reasons Jessica thought. That evening, Tom sent another document. Owen's wedding venue had refunded the $15,000 deposit to my business account. They'd called to confirm details, couldn't reach me. Tried Jessica. She told them the wedding was canceled due to family circumstances. Except the wedding wasn't canceled. Owen still planned to marry in December. He just didn't have a venue anymore, and the deposit was in an account he couldn't touch. He'll figure out eventually, Tom said. How long? Venue will send final notice in a week. When they don't get confirmation and payment, they'll book someone else. Owen, who filmed me signing papers for laughs. Owen, who called me selfish. Owen, about to learn actions had consequences. I should have felt guilty. Mostly I just felt tired. Tired of being the safety net for people who never appreciated it. 3 weeks after I walked out, I got a call from an old contact at the Defense Logistics Agency, Colonel Sarah Hendricks. We'd worked together on a supply chain project 5 years back. Classified stuff I couldn't talk about even now. She was direct, no nonsense, the kind of officer who didn't waste words. Daniel, she said when I picked up, I heard you're available. Word travels fast. I replied, in our world, it does. Especially when someone with your clearance level suddenly goes private. You interested in contract work? I was sitting in a diner in Montana, halfway through a stack of pancakes that actually tasted like food. The cabin had been good for disappearing, but I needed to move forward, not just hide. What kind of contract? I asked. Meridian Strategic Solutions. They're building out a new division, Federal Logistics Coordination, Department of Defense, Homeland Security, some alphabet agencies I can't name over the phone. They need someone who understands both military procurement and private sector efficiency. Your name came up. I knew Meridian. Big player in the defense contractor space, billion-dollar contracts, serious people doing serious work. Not the kind of company that hired based on favors. If they wanted me, it was because I could deliver. What's the position? Director of Operations. You'll be overseeing logistics frameworks for critical infrastructure projects. It's a step up from consulting. Real authority, real budget, real impact. Interested. I thought about Jessica, probably still posting stories about her journey of self-discovery while the bills piled up. Thought about Owen, scrambling to find a new wedding venue. Thought about Richard, dealing with credit card companies and blaming everyone but himself. When do they want to meet? I asked. Yesterday, Sarah said, but I can arrange next Tuesday if you can get to DC. I'll be there. The interview was 4 hours long. 3 executives, 2 HR reps, 1 security clearance verification specialist. They asked about my military background, my consulting work, my approach to crisis management. They didn't ask about my personal life, and I didn't volunteer. The security clearance check would tell them everything anyway, including the divorce. If they had concerns, they'd raise them. They didn't. 2 days later, I got the offer. Director of Operations, Meridian Strategic Solutions. Base salary that made my consulting rate look like pocket change, plus performance bonuses, stock options, and benefits that would make a senator jealous. I accepted. By the time I signed the paperwork and started the onboarding process, it was mid-December. I'd been gone from my old life for exactly 6 weeks. In that time, I disappeared, restructured everything, and landed a position that put me in rooms with people who made decisions that affected national security. Meanwhile, according to Emma's texts, Jessica was trying to negotiate with the power company to turn the electricity back on. Owen had moved his wedding to a community center that cost a fraction of the original venue, but looked like a high school gym. And Kyle had apparently started dating one of Jessica's former friends. The same friend who'd been at the birthday party, laughing while I signed the papers. Mom's not handling it well, Emma texted. She keeps posting about betrayal and karma, but the engagement on her posts is way down. People are getting bored of the drama. I didn't respond to that. I just sent Emma my new address, my new phone number, and told her she was welcome to visit any time. She was the only one who deserved that invitation. The day I moved into my new apartment in Arlington, Virginia, I got a message from Tom. A photo attachment. It was a screenshot from Jessica's Instagram, dated that morning. She was sitting in what looked like a coffee shop. Makeup perfect despite the sad expression. Caption reading, sometimes the people you thought would never leave are the ones who teach you the hardest lessons about self-worth. The comments were split. Half supportive, half skeptical. One comment stood out. Girl, didn't you literally film yourself laughing at him while he signed divorce papers? Maybe the lesson is yours to learn. Jessica had deleted that comment within minutes, but screenshots lived forever. The internet never forgot. I put my phone down and looked around my new apartment. Clean, modern, empty of memories. Outside the window, the city hummed with purpose and motion. Inside, I felt nothing but quiet satisfaction. Not revenge. Not vindication. Just the simple truth that some chapters end exactly the way they're supposed to, even if the people in them never see it coming. Owen's wedding happened on a cold Saturday in mid-December. I wasn't invited, obviously, but Emma called me that evening, her voice tight with something between anger and exhaustion. "You need to know what happened," Emma said. I was in my new apartment, unpacking boxes, my life in cardboard, waiting to be reassembled. I stopped and sat down. "Tell me," I said. Owen tried to give a speech at the reception about family and support and being there for each other. He got about 3 sentences in before he started crying. Not happy tears, angry tears. I stayed quiet, let her continue. "He blamed you," Emma said. "Said you abandoned us, abandoned him. That real fathers don't walk away." His bride looked mortified. Grandpa Richard tried to calm him down, but Owen just got louder. Started listing everything you'd done for him. The college tuition, the car repairs, the wedding deposit, all of it. Then he said, "And he threw it all away because Mom wanted to be happy." Emma paused. I heard her take a breath. Then Aunt Linda, you remember her, Mom's sister, she stood up and said, "Owen, your mother handed Daniel divorce papers at his birthday party as a joke. She filmed it. You filmed it. You all laughed. What did you think was going to happen?" I closed my eyes. Linda, Jessica's older sister, the one who'd never bought into the Instagram lifestyle, the one who'd pulled me aside at Thanksgiving 2 years ago and told me I was too good for this family. I thought she was being dramatic. She wasn't. "What did Jessica do?" I asked. "Mom tried to defend herself," Emma said. "Said it wasn't like that, that you'd been emotionally distant, that the divorce was mutual." Linda just laughed. Actually laughed. Said, "Jessica, I love you, but you're delusional. You spent 10 years treating that man like an ATM with a pulse, and now you're shocked he finally walked away." How'd that go over? Half the room agreed with Linda. The other half looked uncomfortable. Owen's bride started crying. The whole reception basically fell apart. People started leaving early. Mom left before the cake was even cut. Emma went quiet again. Then, softer, "Daniel." Owen called me after. He was drunk, rambling. He said he didn't realize how much you actually did, that he thought Mom handled everything, that you just wrote checks. He said he never understood that you were the only thing holding everything together. "Is he apologizing?" I asked. "I don't know," Emma admitted. "I think he's just realizing he burned a bridge he can't rebuild. The tax bill from that wedding gift you gave him, it hit last week. He owes $11,000 to the IRS by April. His wife doesn't know yet. $11,000. The tax on $38,000 in gift income that was never repaid to the business. Exactly what Tom said would happen." "Emma," I said carefully, "I need you to understand something. I didn't do this to punish Owen. I did this because I was tired of being used. The tax bill, the lost deposit, all of it, those are consequences of choices Owen made. He chose to mock me. He chose to take without appreciation. He chose his mother's narrative over reality." "I know," Emma said. "I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm just telling you what's happening, because you deserve to know that people are finally seeing the truth." After we ended the call, I sat in the darkness of my new apartment and thought about Owen. 19 years old, married, facing a tax bill he couldn't pay because he'd never bothered to read the paperwork or ask questions. He'd assumed, like his mother, that I'd always be there to catch him. Now he was learning that assumptions were expensive. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, then saw the message. "This is Linda, Jessica's sister. I have your number from Emma. I owe you an apology for not speaking up sooner. You were the best thing that happened to this family, and they threw you away like garbage. I'm sorry." I stared at the text for a long moment. Then I replied, "You don't owe me an apology, but thank you." Linda wrote back immediately. "Jessica's losing everything. The house, the car, her followers. People are starting to see through the act. She's talking about moving in with Richard, but he won't let her. Says she made her bed. Thought you should know karma's working overtime." I didn't respond to that. Karma wasn't the right word. Consequences was more accurate. Jessica had spent years building a life on a foundation of my work, my money, my tolerance. When I removed the foundation, the structure fell. That wasn't karma. That was architecture. But I didn't need to explain that to Linda. I just thanked her and turned my phone off. Tomorrow I started my first full week at Meridian. There were procurement frameworks to build, logistics chains to optimize, real work that mattered. The past could keep sorting itself out. I had a future to build. The letter arrived at Jessica's house in January. Emma sent me a photo of it. Her text message brief. You need to see this. It was from a debt collection agency. The $40,000 business loan for Jessica's content studio, the one she'd co-signed without reading the terms, had gone into default after 3 missed payments. The agency was demanding full repayment within 30 days, or they'd begin legal proceedings. Mom's freaking out. Emma texted. She keeps saying there must be a mistake, that the loan was supposed to be joint, that you should be paying half. I was in my office at Meridian, reviewing logistics protocols for a Department of Defense contract. Professional, focused, the kind of work that required precision and clear thinking. I put my phone down and got back to it. That evening, Tom called. Jessica's attorney reached out. Some kid fresh out of law school, probably working for free or next to nothing. He's claiming the loan documentation is fraudulent, that Jessica didn't understand what she was signing. She signed it in front of a notary, I said, with witnesses, after I explained exactly what it was. I know, Tom said. I told him that. I also told him we have video footage from the bank showing her signing the documents and audio recording of you explaining the terms. He went quiet after that. Video footage. I'd forgotten about that. Most banks recorded their loan signing sessions for liability purposes. Jessica had been so focused on her phone that day, scrolling through comments on her latest post while the loan officer walked through each page. I'd stopped twice to ask if she was paying attention. She'd waved me off both times. What's he asking for? I asked Tom. Settlement. Wants you to cover half the debt. Says it's the right thing to do. No, I said simply. That's what I told him. Tom replied. He threatened to take it to court. I told him to go ahead. We'd love to show a judge the footage of his client, ignoring the loan officer's explanations. He hung up. I went back to my work. 2 weeks later, Emma called instead of texting. Her voice was strained. Mom sold her jewelry, Emma said. The stuff Grandma left her. The pearls, the diamond earrings, everything. She got $8,000 for it. It's not nearly enough. Where's Owen? I asked. Owen's dealing with his own problems. The IRS sent him another letter about the tax bill. His wife found out. She's not happy. They're fighting constantly. And Richard. Emma's laugh was bitter. Grandpa told Mom she's on her own. Said he warned her about marrying you. Said he warned her about the divorce stunt. Said she made her bed. He's not helping. Richard, the man who'd grinned while handing me divorce papers, who'd called me nothing, who'd celebrated my humiliation, now refusing to help his own daughter because his credit was ruined and his pride was wounded. Emma, I said carefully, I want you to know something. None of this is your fault, and none of this is your responsibility to fix. I know, Emma said quietly, but it's hard watching it all fall apart. She's still my mom. She is, I agreed. But she's also an adult who made adult choices. You can love her and still let her face the consequences. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment thinking about Jessica, about how she'd spent 10 years building an image, a brand, a performance of success, and how quickly it had all collapsed when the foundation disappeared. She'd thought I was the scaffolding holding up her life. She'd been wrong. I'd been the entire structure. Without me, there was nothing but empty air and the long fall down. 3 days later, Jessica filed for bankruptcy. Emma sent me the court documents. Chapter 7. Complete liquidation. The house would be sold, though since it belonged to my business, she wouldn't see a penny from it. Her car was already gone. Her credit was destroyed. The lifestyle blogger who documented her perfect life for thousands of followers was now documenting her financial collapse, though she called it a journey of radical simplification. The comments on that post were brutal. People weren't buying it anymore. They could smell the desperation, the performance, the lies wrapped in spiritual language. Her follower count dropped another 2,000 in a week. I felt nothing reading those documents. No triumph, no sadness, nothing. Just a quiet certainty that Jessica had finally run out of other people's money to spend. Owen called me in late January. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Daniel, Owen said when I picked up. His voice was different, smaller, missing the cocky edge it used to have. I need to talk to you about something. Go ahead, I said. The tax bill. From the wedding money. I can't pay it. My wife and we've been trying, but it's $11,000 and we just don't have it. The IRS is threatening to garnish my wages. I waited, didn't fill the silence. I know I messed up, Owen continued. At your birthday party, at my wedding, all of it. I was a jerk. I didn't appreciate what you did for us. I just thought it was normal, that stepdads just paid for stuff. I didn't realize you were choosing to do it. And now you're calling because you need money, I said. No, Owen said quickly. I mean, yes, I need help. But that's not why I'm calling. I'm calling because I owe you an apology. A real one. What we did to you at that party was cruel. Mom thought it would be funny, that you'd just sign and we'd all laugh, and everything would go back to normal. She didn't think you'd actually leave. She didn't think I had the spine to leave. I corrected. Owen was quiet for a moment. Yeah, that's more accurate. She thought you were trapped, that you needed us more than we needed you. She was wrong. Yeah, Owen said. She was. And I'm sorry. For filming it. For posting it. For laughing. I'm sorry. I looked out my window at the Virginia skyline. Clear day, cold, honest. Owen, I appreciate the apology, but it doesn't change anything. The tax bill is yours to handle. The consequences are yours to live with. I know, Owen said. I'm not asking you to fix it. I just wanted you to know that I get it now. Why you left. Why you did what you did. You weren't being vindictive. You were just done being used. That's right, I said. Can I ask you something? Owen's voice shifted. Did you ever actually care about us? About me and Emma? Or were we just part of the package deal with Mom? I thought about that question. About soccer practices and homework help and teaching him to drive. About late night talks and college application essays and the day he got his first real job. About all the moments Jessica had been too busy filming to notice. I cared, I said. But caring doesn't mean letting someone use you. And it doesn't mean you owe someone your entire life just because you helped them grow up. Owen made a sound that might have been a sob. I ruined it, didn't I? Any chance we had of staying in touch. I ruined it. You made choices, I said. Actions have consequences. You're learning that now. Is there any way to fix it? Owen asked. Between you and me? I don't know. Maybe with time. But the tax bill, that's on you. Figure it out. I hung up before he could respond. Not out of anger, but out of finality. Owen needed to learn that apologies didn't erase consequences, that regret didn't mean rescue. He'd spent 19 years watching his mother manipulate people with emotions and assumed it would work for him too. It wouldn't. Not with me. Not anymore. That night, Emma called. Owen told me he talked to you. He did, I said. He's been crying for an hour, Emma said. His wife is talking about leaving if they can't fix their finances. He's falling apart. Emma, I need you to hear me clearly, I said. Owen's problems are not your problems. They're not mine either. He made choices. He laughed at me. He mocked me. He took everything I gave and never once showed gratitude. Now he's facing consequences. That's not cruel. That's life. Emma was quiet. Then I know. I just wish it didn't have to be this hard. It wouldn't be this hard if people had been honest from the start, I said. But they weren't. So here we are. After I hung up, I sat in the quiet of my apartment and thought about family, about how it's supposed to be built on trust and respect and mutual support, about how Jessica had built hers on performance and manipulation and assumed compliance, about how that structure was now collapsing under its own weight, taking down everyone who'd bought into the act. I'd gotten out before the collapse. Emma was getting out too, planning her escape to college. Owen and Nash were still inside, scrambling in the wreckage, finally understanding that the man they dismissed had been the only thing holding it all together. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I had a life to build, and I was building it on solid ground this time, with no performances, no lies, no foundations made of someone else's patience. Spring came to Virginia with the kind of gentle warmth that made you forget winter ever existed. I'd been at Meridian for 4 months, and the work was everything Sarah Hendricks had promised. Real authority, real impact, the kind of projects that made a difference beyond quarterly earnings reports. Colonel Hendricks stopped by my office one afternoon in March. She didn't knock, just walked in with 2 cups of coffee and set one on my desk. Good work on the infrastructure project, she said, settling into the chair across from me. DOD is impressed. They want you to lead the next phase. Appreciated, I said. Sarah studied me for a moment. You're different than you were when we worked together before. Sharper, more focused. What changed? I thought about how to answer that. I stopped carrying dead weight. She nodded slowly. The divorce. You knew. Background check flagged it. I looked into it. Your ex-wife was quite vocal on social media about her version of events. Sarah's expression didn't change. Then I read the actual legal documents. Very different story. Usually is, I said. For what it's worth, Sarah said. You made the right call. I've seen too many good people destroy their careers, trying to save relationships that were already dead. You cut it clean and moved on. That takes strength. After she left, I sat at my desk thinking about strength. About how people confuse it with loudness, with aggression, with making scenes. Real strength was quieter. It was signing papers without a word. Walking away without looking back. Building something new without needing validation from people who never valued you in the first place. That evening, Emma called. She was excited, voice bright in a way I hadn't heard in months. I got into Virginia Tech, she said. Early admission. Full academic scholarship. I'm leaving in August. That's incredible, Emma. I'm proud of you. Daniel, I was wondering. Emma's voice shifted, became tentative. Would you come to my high school graduation? I know it's a lot to ask with everything that happened, but you're the only father figure I've ever really had, and I'd like you to be there. Something tight in my chest loosened. Of course I'll be there. Just send me the details. Emma made a sound that might have been a sob. Thank you. Mom's going to hate it, but I don't care anymore. She made her choices. I'm making mine. That's exactly right, I said. After we hung up, I looked around my apartment. Clean, organized mine. No performances. No cameras. No one documenting every moment for strangers. Just a life being lived instead of performed. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And honest was something I hadn't had in a very long time. The divorce was behind me. The career was ahead of me. And somewhere in between, Emma was building her own future, learning from her mother's mistakes instead of repeating them. That was enough. More than enough. Emma's graduation was on a perfect May afternoon. Clear skies, light breeze, the kind of day that felt like a promise. I sat in the back row of the outdoor amphitheater, away from the crowd. I wasn't trying to hide, just giving Emma space to have her moment without the drama my presence would create. Jessica was in the third row, surrounded by people I didn't recognize. Her parents weren't there. Richard had suffered a mild heart attack in April, according to Emma. The stress of his financial situation, the doctors said. He was recovering, but wasn't up for events yet. Owen sat next to Jessica, his wife noticeably absent. The marriage hadn't survived the tax bill and the blame that came with it. I watched Emma cross the stage, accept her diploma, wave to the crowd. Valedictorian. Full scholarship. A future she'd earned through her own work, not through performance or manipulation or borrowed success. After the ceremony, Emma found me in the parking lot. She was still in her cap and gown, diploma in hand, smile genuine and unfiltered. You came, she said. I promised, I replied. She hugged me tight. Thank you. For everything. For being there when I needed someone real. You did the hard part yourself, I said. I just didn't get in your way. Emma pulled back, eyes bright. Mom saw you. She wanted to come over, but I told her not to. This is my day, not hers. Good for you, I said. Owen's a mess, Emma continued. His wife left him last month. Filed for divorce. The tax bill broke them. He's moving back in with Mom. Except Mom doesn't have a place anymore. She's staying with that friend Tanya, the one from the birthday party. The one who laughed. I felt nothing hearing that. Just noted it as information. Filed it away as someone else's problem. I need to get back, Emma said. There's a lunch thing. But I wanted to say thank you. And to tell you that I'm not making her mistakes. I'm going to build my own life, the right way. With honesty. You already are, I said. I watched her walk back toward the crowd, toward whatever came next. Then I got in my truck and drove away from that town, that life, those people who'd never valued what they had until it was gone. 3 months later, I met someone. Her name was Rebecca. She was a project manager at a defense contractor, sharp and competent and honest. We met at a conference, started talking about logistics frameworks, ended up talking until the hotel bar closed. She didn't ask about my past until our third date, and when I told her the simple version, she just nodded and said, "Sounds like you got out at the right time." No drama. No performance. Just two adults building something real on a foundation of mutual respect. Emma came to visit that fall, right before her first semester started. She met Rebecca, approved immediately. She's real, Emma said after dinner. Not like Mom. Real. Yeah, I said. She is. A year after I walked out of that birthday party, I stood in my office at Meridian looking at a commendation from the Secretary of Defense. Recognition for outstanding work on critical infrastructure projects. My name on a plaque that would hang in Pentagon hallways. Jessica was somewhere posting about her journey of self-discovery, her audience down to a few hundred followers who still believe the performance. Owen was working retail, trying to rebuild his life from zero. Richard was recovering slowly, his credit destroyed, his arrogance finally humbled by reality. And I was here, free, successful, building a life worth living instead of performing one worth watching. Turns out, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just living well while the people who counted you out realized they were the ones who couldn't count.